All right, Aries. So this week from Lay Vampire, you pulled free will, sovereignty, independence, and free spirit. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled growth. Now, for me, looking at the two of them, immediately what came to me was, it's really up to you. It's up to you right now to decide to say yes or no to a situation or a person. But then the question becomes with growth, are you doing what is going to continue growth in your own life? Are you asking yourself, have you outgrown this person or this situation? Growth is not just about standing up for yourself and living your truth, but it's really about, your own personal growth. But, I wonder if for some of you right now, you're not really acting on your free will. Like, they're beautiful cards when you put them together, but, why is there the question of, are you going to say yes or no? But basically all it's saying right now is that it's up to you. All right, Aries, here we go. Here's your overall for the week. The Four of Pentacles, and I go right back to the Oracle cards and I'm like, nah, I don't think that some of you are ready to let go of something just yet. Now with the Four of Pentacles, right, I don't always look at that as you need to release something. I look at it more as there's a reason why you're not willing to give anything right now, because there is a level of stability that has been found. And it may be that for some of you, on a financial level here, you're not willing to give anything else into something that is not going to continue your growth, right? But then at the same time, it's like you need to be able to say no. Now, for some of you, definitely could be that you're not willing to let go of something right now. In the past, the Eight of Cups. So basically, yeah, you're not. I think that you've tried. Whatever the situation is here, whether we're talking about work or relationships, right? With the Eight of Cups as the past coming through, to me, it's like you tried. But with the Four of Pentacles being the overall, it's like, no, right? And with the both of them, the same thing goes. With the Eight of Cups, you can tell anybody to walk away from something, but it's not that easy. It's the same thing with the Four of Pentacles, right? Anybody can tell you need to let go of some shit and you need to walk away, but I don't know. I think for some of you, that's probably why free will is showing up. Like, right now, it may just be what you need to do, I don't know. Now, in the present, the Hierophant or the High Priest. Now, for me, immediately, if we're talking about commitment here, it's not something that it is easy to walk away from. It's either because, we're talking about like a work commitment or a marriage here, right? But, it could be that you're waiting for that, though, too, and not willing to give up, And then the other thing with the High Priest, though, too, is needing to get a little bit more grounded, spiritually grounded, so to speak, after the difficult changes with the fives, right? Like I've always said that with the Hierophant. But, commitment, right? That seems to be the big thing, And for some of you, you may be looking for support. But clearly here in the past, it's something that you've thought about walking away from, but I just don't think that you can. Oh boy. Yep. So, future conditions, the Lovers. I do think that it's going to have to do with a love situation for some of you, absolutely. But then, for others of you, it's just making those major life choices, right? And again, free will. But I don't know. I feel like for some of you, there may be like a new level of security that may be found within a commitment, especially within a major relationship. And that's why you're not willing to, let go of things. Now, very simply, it could be that there are some emotional things that you've been feeding into that you're not willing to let go of, though, either. But I'm always waiting to see what's going on here. Your best path to follow, the Ten of Pentacles. So we're talking about long-term security and stability here that you need to be looking at, and then I go back to growth, right? The continued growth. What do you need to do that's going to continue that? Because you can't stay with the Four of Pentacles. You stay stuck. You don't really grow. You're not really losing anything because you're not willing to give anything up, but you're just staying in one spot here. And with the High Priest being there, maybe there is some major changes that need to happen. but it doesn't need to be like destructive or anything. It's just, you need to learn how to change and how to grow almost, especially within relationships. But I go back to this and I think the focus needs to be on, the long-term security and stability, whether we're talking about relationship or work here. What is going to give you what you need in the long run? In your environment, the world, damn. Okay. Now, I think that for a lot of you, because we're looking at the Four of Pentacles, it's needing to get closure on some emotional issues more than anything with the Eight of Cups. Because I'm looking at it lining down this way. Now, with the world, definitely you're talking about, a major chapter in your life coming to a close. But in a good way, it's one thing when you're looking at the tens and you look at the Wheel of Fortune, but when you're looking at the world, it's opening up the door to start back at the full. But it's almost like you need to get to that point where there is closure for you on issues from the past. And like I said, for some of you, that may be what you're hanging on to right now. But looking at it in connection to the High Priest, I feel like it is going to have to do with a commitment, but it's also about you needing to learn how to change. Learn how to change and not be stuck in, not be in this place where like you're not willing to give up your position. Like I can understand the level of security that's been found within a relationship, but if you thought about walking away from it before, it may be due to commitment issues and needing to get closure on some shit that may have happened. But again, your advice is like, look at the long term, right? What is going to make you feel secure? What is it, with the Lovers being there, it's like with the Ten of Pentacles, are you going to have something to show for, the changes that you make and the commitment that you make, wanting to have something to show, in the long run? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. You don't want to put in all this time and effort into something and then have nothing to show for it. There you go. Your hopes and your fears, strength. Is this about needing to find the inner strength to hang on to this, or to walk away from things that you've been hanging on to and needing to release so you can find that closure, right? I like strength, but it doesn't really tell me a lot. Because if for me, it could go either way. I mean, absolutely you're stronger than what you realize, but I don't think that that's an issue with Aries. So the strength for me comes into play when we're talking about, needing to change or needing to walk away from something. And then of course you have Leo, Gemini, Taurus going on. And then the outcome, the Knight of Cups. Okay. So that may be the issue, but then at the same time, I kind of feel like, if you have somebody, especially within a major relationship, that's offering you, an emotional connection here, for me, it's almost like, okay, that's great and all, but there are still things that I need to get closure on before anything can move forward. Now, for some of you, it may be that, it's you needing to pull on your inner strength here to make that emotional offer, especially when it comes to, the major relationship. But if you're not willing to change, though, then you can't, expect things to be any different than what they were before. You know what I mean? And then the Nine of Cups, damn. What's with all the emotional stuff, Aries? All right. Now, if we're talking about somebody making an offer to you, and this, like I said, could be about relationships or work, but this is big here between these two, right? And for some of you, absolutely could be about a marriage, and there may be emotional issues that need to be like let go of, right? Or you need to stop feeding into them because there needs to be closure. And I think that may be the issue. But anyway, coming into the Knight of Cups, right? With the Four of Cups clarifying that's basically what the problem is. You're talking about seeing something offered to you that just isn't what you had expected It's not good enough is what I feel like, more so than this being about boredom or disinterest. I don't think that that's it. And a lot of times for me with the Four of Cups, I don't really look at this as like a no or a rejecting an offer, because the thing is you're still looking at it. But it's like, what the hell? You know, what makes that any different than what I've seen before? That I feel strongly with the Four of Cups. But, you know, looking at the Eight of Cups, yeah, especially on an emotional level, you know, if somebody's coming through and wanting to offer you like possibly a new start here with a relationship, that's just not good enough. It's not good enough because, you know, again, you're still looking for closure. Now with the Seven of Cups, it's like, how do I explain this? It's almost like looking at it and going, the reality killed the fantasy for you, I think. Because when you're looking at the Seven of Cups, I mean, you know, absolutely we could be looking at you thinking about other options for you, right? But, you know, the problem there with the Seven of Cups is you're talking about, you know, the emotional fantasies surrounding, you know, the options that you do have in front of you. And there's like an expectation there, you know, but now it's like, well, what now? You know, what do I do now? But there's not really a whole lot of emotional clarity on, you know, how to move forward on this. Now with the Nine of Cups, though, you move into a place where the focus then becomes on, you know, overall happiness here. What is it that you really want, right? And then looking at the Lovers, that is what's going to make you happy. But are you moving back into a place where you're just fantasizing about what could be, but is not, you know, the reality? You know, I mean, like I've always said, you can't place your happiness in the hands of others because they will always fail to create it for you. That is your responsibility. But clearly here with the Nine of Cups, for some of you, it's wanting a commitment, wanting somebody to commit to you, wanting to make a better commitment in terms of work possibly here. But, you know, with the Knight of Cups, the Lovers, and the Hierophant, it's like, yeah, I do think that for some of you it will have to do with a relationship, you know. And for some of you, it could just be, you know, a business partnership, right? But I don't know. I don't like that the Knight of Cups is what's coming out here. You know, I mean, normally, right, like I love the Knight of Cups, but the way that you kick it off, it just looks like things are going to, you know, go right back to the start almost, you know. And you really need to look at what you want to have in the long term, not just temporary. You know, and don't have any expectations, you know. And I think that the problem, though, too, is if you're looking for closure on some emotional issues, you know, with the Four of Cups and the Seven of Cups, it's like, yeah, you know, that's great and all, but, right, how do we get to this spot where, you know, my fantasies become reality and it makes me happy, where, you know, these things are over and done with? And then communication, you know, and I feel like for some of you, absolutely, it's like you're not, what you resist persists. If you keep resisting things, you're going to continue to see the same things over and over again. But if you're resisting communication here because you need assurance, that's not really going to help the situation. You know, assurance is also, though, the universe kind of telling you that everything's fine, like you're okay, right? I mean, the world is there. There is a way to get to this kind of closure that you're looking for. But don't resist shit, and certainly don't resist the communication that you need to be doing, especially on an emotional level in terms of what you want. Not just emotionally, but, you know, physically, though, too, you know, that security and stability. But then you also need to be open to the communication that you may be getting, especially if you're dealing with somebody who doesn't really know how they feel, though, either. You know, but don't resist shit. Don't do that to yourself, right? And like I understand needing to have assurance here before, you know, anything can be like accepted, especially on an emotional level. But, and then act as if your partner is here. Yeah. Whether you have someone in your life or not, act as if they are with you, so you will always consider them. Here's my thing with this. When I look at this one, especially with what you have going on here, to me, it's almost like act as if the right version of your partner is there. But then at the same time, you know, you have to respect yourself, looking at love who you are. So if you are deserving of wonderful things that life has to offer, then you need to come from a place of feeling like you deserve to have the right partner, especially if we're talking about relationships here. But again, Aries, I go right back to the oracle cards. The question then becomes, are you going to say yes and no, yes or no to, the things that are not going to continue the growth that you actually want to see, But like I said, for some of you, I do think that this is going to have to do with a relationship. You may definitely have somebody coming back through here that may be trying to offer you something, but I don't think that you're going to be fully satisfied with it. Until, like I said, there is closure on things that, may have happened in the past that you have tried to walk away from, but I think some of you may be having a hard time doing. But, right? It's up to you. It's up to you. You're the one that gets to make that choice. All right, Aries. So one of the things that I will say about this is if you are in a relationship right now, I do think that at some point here you have thought about walking away because there is something that you're not willing to let go of, but then also on top of that, not willing to give up your position though either with the Four of Pentacles. But the fact that you thought about walking away from this in the past, speaks a lot, especially with the world being connected to that in your environment. And then looking at the Hierophant in the present moment, we're talking about a major commitment, especially with the lovers, right, with the relationship, but then having thought about walking away. But then also with the world, we're talking about getting closure on, those things that have been less than satisfying for you in terms of a relationship. Now, for some of you, you could absolutely be looking at closing out a major commitment because there's something that you're not willing to give up on, looking at the Four of Pentacles, right? And you do have the Knight of Cups coming out, which means that there could be a new offer coming through, which is possible. Now, I do think, though, that for you, with looking at your advice with the Ten of Pentacles, if you're going to get involved in, a major commitment, especially in regards to, a relationship here with the lovers, right, you're going to need something to show for it, right? Like it's almost like looking at this and going, you're looking at now where you want to be when you're older. Like, how do I put this? I'm having such a hard time spitting shit out this week, I swear to God. It's almost like I want to grow old with you. I want to be in the relationship where I feel like, things are going to be okay for the rest of my life. But then we're also looking at overall security and stability. Now, strength, right? I mean, this for me doesn't really say a lot other than the fact that you need to pull on your inner strength when it comes to either changing or needing to change and giving up, this wanting to hold on to the fact that there is some shit that needs to be corrected in the past, because I do think that that's a big issue for some of you. But then also needing to have the strength to close out a major commitment here, to accept something new. Because, with the Knight of Cups coming out, absolutely that could be what's happening here. I don't know. I feel more so that this is being offered to you rather than you offering this to someone else. Now, with the clarifiers, though, it's like, reality kills the fantasy. But the problem is that you're still going back to, the expectation here with the Seven of Cups. But then looking at the Nine of Cups, I worry that you're not being very realistic about, what you're wanting or what you think you want right now, because of it being the Knight of Cups. But then not only that, because we're looking at the Ten of Pentacles and, you're being asked to look at the long term. But regardless, though, going right back to the start of this, it's up to you. Free will is such a beautiful thing, right? It's why we say that nothing is ever set in stone. Anybody can change their mind, their feelings, their actions at any time. And things could completely change because of that, right? We can't control other people. But it's really up to you right now, whether or not you're going to say yes or no to something, and it's all based on whether or not it's going to continue growth in your own life. And like I said, for some of you, it could just be, major life choices that you're making with the lovers. No longer wanting to follow temptation, but then yet it's still there. But you still have something in front of you that is probably the best for you, right?
Now, as far as the soul trees goes, it makes sense to me that the reason why you're resisting communication is because the communication that is coming through may not be giving you assurance. But then the other thing is that, you're not opening up to communicate, though, either until you have that assurance. But regardless, the fact that that card showed up, it's telling you that no matter what you choose to do here, right, everything's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Now, as far as love who you are and act as if your partner is here, to me, this is basically saying that if you feel like, you deserve something better, then you need to act as if the right version of your partner is there. The partner that you want is there with you. But, love who you are. You can't expect to get, the best version of a relationship in your life if you don't feel like you deserve it. You have to feel like you deserve to have that relationship that is going to be, lifelong for you, right? But I go right back to the start on this. If you're not willing to give up your position, then you can't expect to see anything different than what you've already seen before. Getting involved in a situation that eventually is going to leave you feeling like it's not giving you what you want, and then thinking about walking away from it, right? But it's up to you. It's up to you. You ultimately get to make the choice here on whether or not you're going to continue to do this, or if you're going to move on somewhere else. But, we have to look at personal growth more than anything here.